Hi, everyone. It's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about being underestimated. This is kind of the opposite of imposter syndrome. I did a whole video about it. It's linked below. Imposter syndrome is when you feel like you're not good enough for, for whatever you're trying to do. And I've talked about that, and I've talked about I've felt imposter syndrome. I felt it way further into my career than a lot of people probably thought. But this is the opposite. Actually, it's one kind of opposite. I'll talk about the other opposite later. But the opposite of imposter syndrome is when instead of you feeling like you're not good enough, suddenly there's a lot of other people who feel like you're not good enough. And it's weird and it's really undermining. And if you have any insecurity whatsoever, it's super triggering. But this is something that's happened. Like you're good at something. You know you are. You've been tested on it, or you've already done things with that skill and they turned out good. And then it's weird that other people don't acknowledge that or recognize it or whatever. And this happens, and that's what I want to talk about. So I'll talk about things that have happened. This has been happening to me as long as I can remember. I was in high school, and I was probably by my sophomore, junior year, a lot of my classmates knew it was between me and someone else for valedictorian. I had a picture of me and her. We were tied. We were both getting A's. We got A's and everything. We took the same number of AP classes. We were in the same AP classes. But what was weird, I had multiple teachers who were shocked that I was tied with her for valedictorian. I mean, like openly said to my face, I am shocked. One was a very sweet teacher I had. She taught accounting, but she said to me, she goes, "Really? You're valedictorian, but you're so normal. And you hang out with so many different people. I saw you talking with one of the auto mechanic boys the other day." And I'm like, yeah, I have a lot of friends here at the high school. So I didn't exactly know what she was getting at. But I had another teacher, an English teacher, and he told me, yeah, I'm shocked you're tied with her. I think she deserves it. By the way, we were both in the same English class, his. She got an A, I got an A minus. She was valedictorian. One of my friends went and yelled at that guy, and I was like, I do not care. I told him, Greg, I don't care. I do not care. I've already got into early admission at UVA. I'm going to college. Literally, my entire high school transcript is meaningless at this point. No one will ever look at it again. So, by the way, the teacher heard me saying to this in the hallway, and he was a little pissed. And he felt justified. I feel justified in giving you a lower grade if you don't even care about them. And I'm like, okay. Why are you talking then? I just told you I don't care. But it was weird. What bothered me a little was he really underestimated me. He undervalued me. This happened in college. When I went to UVA the very first semester, I was in a scholar program. There was no money attached to it. You just went to a few extra classes. And there were a couple people. We were all in engineering school, so the first entering year was very small. There were a couple people who were surprised when I went off to a different class than they did, because they went to the regular one and I went to the scholar one, which was all the students in there were from the scholar program. And they were surprised I was in it, and they weren't. And their point was, well, we went to a way better high school. They went to a competitive high school that was near mine that tended to do better in everything, in academics and football, everything. So they were like, well, we're obviously better than you. Why were you in that scholars program? And I'm like, I don't know. Take it up with the scholar committee, but I have to go to this class now. Well, guess what? Not only did I do better than them in the scholars humanities class than their regular humanities class, I did better than them in the classes we had together. And they eventually shut up because I was like, they would say things like that. I'm like, really? Do you want to talk about this when you just walked away with a C on that test and you saw what I got? Do you want to get into this again? Are all the tests here unfair? Are all the teachers unfair? Is everything in life just unfair at you? But by all means, keep coming at me. Now, bear in mind, at the same time, I was in a math class that was so hard and I wasn't doing well in it. I was calling home going, Mom, I don't think I'm going to make it through engineering school. And so I was simultaneously feeling imposter syndrome and being underestimated objectively and to my face by some of my classmates. It was weird. But then I went to grad school on the other side of the country. And this time I got a scholarship that really did. It paid for room and board and tuition and gave me money on top of that just to have. It was a crazy, awesome scholarship. Same thing happened. I was with some friends and I was like, oh shoot, I have to go to dinner. And they're like, what? Where are you going? And I said, I just have to go to dinner. And I was walking, and one of them goes, wait, you don't even have a car. And I said, well, it's here on campus. And they're like, where are you going? And I said, it's a scholarship dinner. It's for people who got this scholarship. One of the new friends I made was angry. He was super angry because he was like, I can't believe you did better than me. I think I'm better at this stuff than you, better at computer science. And I'm like, we've been here a month. I said, let's get into this later. We talked about it later. I had a better, what were they? I forget what you took. It was one of the SATs. The GREs. My GREs were better than his. And he was like, Also, we had a class together in algorithms. And the teacher of that really wanted me to be in algorithms instead of AI, which was my chosen major for my master's. And he wanted me to switch. And I was like, I don't really want to switch. But then I ended up with him in a algorithms class. And we had to do presentations. And the presentation I picked was on balancing binary split trees. And I did not know this, but not only did the professor do that was one of his areas of study, but the TA, who was a third or fourth year graduate student, that was the guy he was doing the studies with. And in my presentation, I called out a new German paper that had found a better, more efficient way of balancing binary split trees. And while I was giving the talk, I saw the teacher staring daggers at the TA. And at the end of my presentation, I expected something had gone horribly wrong. He just went, very good presentation, Mr. Kane. Can I ask where you got that reference? And he asked about the German paper. And I said, it's a brand new white paper. It hasn't been published yet, but it's available online. Now, keep in mind, this was 1988. Finding things online, there was no Google. You had to actually go out and manually find it. I found it at the German university the guy did the paper at. Well, apparently the TA got in trouble over that, and I apologized to him. I'm like, I don't know. And he goes, no, it's not your fault. He goes, I should have found that. But still, that was really good research. The guy who had been upset that I had this scholarship, he kind of went, I guess you're pretty good at this. And I was like, okay. Same thing happened at Interplay. I got treated like the new guy, even though this was my second game company. The game I was working on, Rags to Riches, was my third game and my second one for this company. I'd worked there as a contractor before. And then I made GNOME, my OS abstraction library that a lot of other people were using. And, I wrote the engine for Fallout. And I did so well at the Fallout team management that I was asked to give a talk to the other producers. I was still sometimes treated like the new guy. And it was a strange reaction. I don't know what I did to engender that. And because I want to say something. This sounds like I'm humble bragging. Look at all this stuff I did. But my point isn't that. My point is people have consistently and regularly judged me as some kind of second-class person. Like, you're okay, but you're not great. And then they were surprised when not only I did well, I did better than them. And this is what I want to talk about. This is kind of the opposite of imposter syndrome. Not for me. Being underestimated is one form of the opposite. I'm talking for them because they were suddenly realizing that they were possibly not as good as they thought they were. Yet they had been incredibly overconfident before. And that was tough on them. I realized how tough it was on them because they realized there was a hierarchy and I may not have been at the top, but I was above them. And they were trying to take this in. It reminded me very much of the vampires in Bloodlines. When you were told to go to the haunted mansion and you're like, ghosts, I don't believe in ghosts. The haunted hotel, I mean. I don't believe in ghosts. And the person's like, you're a vampire. How can you not believe in the supernatural? And by the way, there's a pecking order and you're not at the top. And yeah, you find that out later when you encounter a werewolf. But that reminded me of this, that these people were feeling very overconfident. And the way they expressed that was by telling me how not very good I was. And this has happened my entire career. It never stopped. As recently as a few years ago, I was having people tell me, you're not nearly as good as you think I am, as you think you are. And every time someone would say that to me, I'd always respond, I'm curious, how good do you think I am? Because you're presupposing a lot that I walk around going, look how awesome I am. I don't think I do that. But you seem to think I do that, and then you're reacting against this non-existent thing that I do. So unlike imposter syndrome, which I have felt throughout my career, I sometimes realized that what was going on was they were having a moment. They were reacting to suddenly feeling imposter syndrome. And their way of doing it was, my God, I may not be as good as this as I thought. Well, I'm better than you. You're not very good. You're not as good as you think you are. I think that was the person suddenly realizing, I'm not very good at this. So this is what it comes down to. Eventually, you have to be honest with yourself and realize what you're good at and what you're not good at. You don't need to be egotistical about what you're good at, but you don't need to beat yourself up over about what you're bad at. Just recognize there are things you're good at, things you're bad at. Do the things you're good at. Try to get better at the things you're bad at. And if you can't, and there were several things I haven't gotten better at, get good people on your team who are good at those things. Get people who compliment you. Not, hey, Tim, you're awesome, but hey, Tim, I'll handle writing that dialogue. So that's my point of all this. When you feel yourself being underestimated, just understand there are things you're good at, things you're not. And that's it.